Hi, Steve Summers, Erik Skopil, and Robby Boydstun for Educ.com. We are here in sunny Eugene, Oregon, after what was a pretty overcast and rainy day.
We all wore our shades today. I think we felt a little bit silly early on, but it proved to be a pretty good decision.
Well, that's for sure. Well, this is the fourth week going into the fifth week. Next week will culminate on Saturday with the spring game. That'll be a week from tomorrow that would be May 3rd when the spring game will be played in Onsen Stadium. But today we got a chance to talk to a number of players. Coach Frost came out, and we just finished up an interview with Dior Mathis. One of the interesting things, because we also talked to Devin Allen, one of the interesting things that came out from talking to Allen and Mathis, I think, is answered one of the questions that a lot of folks have had about who's going to replace Braylon Addison on special teams in punt returns, kickoff returns. We think we're narrowed it down a little bit.
It sounds like both of those guys are competing. A long list of guys, I think, probably right now, but those are two of the names that stand out, and I think it makes sense that those are two of the guys just because of their track background. Both of those guys, on the track, also football players, very, very fast players. We've seen a little bit of Dior returning interceptions before, and now he's going to have an opportunity, it sounds like, to return punts and maybe kicks.
Well, go ahead, Alan.
Well, and just learning that from Dior that Devin Allen is at the same time while competing, him being a young guy coming in as a freshman or redshirt freshman, that he's going to be able to pick up stuff from Mathis while he's back there. He's trying to learn as much as he can, trying to get used to that, because that is a big role to fill when you look at what Braylon Addison was able to do, what a lot of Oregon players have been able to do in the past to be an effective guy on special teams. It takes speed, it takes mental ability to essentially make sure that you're going to be able to take care of that ball. And, you can see that Allen's going to be trying to pick that up as much as possible. Whether or not he gets the reps in whether it's the spring game or later on in the season, when he does, you hope that everything he's learned from Mathis kind of comes through there.
Well, if we look back over the last 5 years, particularly from the Chip Kelly era, we know that special teams, particularly in the punt return, has been a very important part of the game, getting the ball into good field position for the Ducks. That's not to rule out Braylon Addison. We at this point, no one knows for sure what his status will be come this fall. Each guy is it's a case-by-case basis,
sure.
And interestingly enough, if we were to ask around the staff the type of injury that he suffered, which was a non-contact injury, similar to what happened to Dennis Dixon, Avery Patterson, where they were just running along and they went down. So interestingly, there have not been a lot of injuries of that nature that have occurred to Ducks as a result of contact. Injuries seem to be from non-contact, and so it remains to be seen. He obviously will not be available for the rest of spring ball. Remains to be seen about Addison this fall. So what else happened today?
I think, we talked about the format. I did, at least on Wednesday, about how they are going to try to play a game. And it sounds like it's kind of cool here. They're going to let some of the players, two offensive players, Marcus and Hronis, and then two defensive players, I think it was Derek and Ifo, are going to pick the teams. And they'll pick the coaches. So it'll be kind of the backward, a little bit of a flip around from the last couple of years. So it sounds like they're planning on playing a game, so for those of you guys able to make it out next Saturday, be ready to watch a game. And I think it sounds like some of the teams might be leaked, I think was what Mark was saying, maybe even today, but definitely this weekend. So be checking on EDUC for that once those information kind of becomes available.
What? Go ahead. Okay, well, let's go back to Robby here. Robby, let's talk a little bit about recruiting.
All right, yesterday, of course, Oregon picked up a huge commit. Not only was it a big commit out of the South, but a four-star running back, Taj Griffin, out of Powder Springs, Georgia. Really, when it comes to trying to figure out what you're going to do to fill that hole in the running game that DeAnthony Thomas left, in terms of the speed factor, the ability to change direction at any given notice, and really keep the defense on their toes and balance out what they're going to be bringing in with guys like Thomas Tyner, who's gotten a little bit bigger and kind of combines a little bit of that speed and a little bit of strength. Royce Freeman is going to be kind of that bruiser guy, and Byron Marshall is he's the steady back that you can rely on. Griffin's going to be that, I don't think it's fair to call him so much a change of pace back, but he does have that ability. And not only that, he's just a guy that you could see developing into a game changer for Oregon within their system and what they're able to do. It'd be nice, it'd be interesting to see what they can do with him if he's got a little bit more in terms of the receiver skills that Oregon likes to use in their offense with some of their running backs, and that remains to be seen. The big question obviously is with them going into the South, this is their 6th recruit that they've picked up since the 2013 class. Second from Georgia, if you remember Jawan Williams coming in with the 2013 class, and he should be getting actually to see some field time this year. So you look at what they're able to do, pulling these kids out of the South. It's really establishing the Ducks' footprint out there that they can recruit. The big question is, can they hold on to him for the next 285 days now until National Signing Day, or at least until Penn hits the paper? Not saying Oregon can't. I think they're definitely a program that has no problem going in and getting an elite athlete. They've proven that. But there's several other schools that know that a verbal commitment is not a guarantee. So you got to look out, make sure that those schools aren't coming in trying to nab Griffin. It's going to happen. You just got to keep him from trying to decommit at any point over the next 285 days. Despite that, a great pickup for the Ducks, a big one. It might be the big one of the year. As of right now, it definitely is the big one of the year. It might be the biggest one going forward. Of course, though, we know that Rasheem Green, a 5-star defensive tackle, is on campus right now taking the tour. We've seen him walk through here. A few other players have been walking through as well. So Oregon, you can see, is already going after the big names. We know the coaches are going to be, after the spring game, going to be traveling around, checking out all these players. A lot of offensive tackles and offensive linemen out in California, Arizona area. Again, still offering a considerable amount of talent in Texas and the Southeast. Reported offers out in Florida yesterday as well for another running back. These coaches are going to be going all around the country here in a few weeks, so you should see that picking up during the evaluation period as you head towards summer. Of course, the big thing is going to culminate here with the NFTC camp here the first weekend of June. And then after that, it'll probably slow down a little bit, as we talked about, with coaches kind of taking vacations, doing that type of thing. But until then, it should be a very busy and exciting time in Oregon recruiting, and Taj Griffin's definitely the kind of the thing that starts all that. He's kind of the catalyst.
Well, in the nearly 20 years that I've been coming to spring workouts and so on, I just don't recall ever seeing the number of athletes, particularly rated athletes, highly rated athletes, that have been here on campus during spring. So that is, in my mind, that's a major change when you see 4- and 5-star recruits on their own dime coming up, and they're not coming from the state of Oregon or from the state of Washington. They're coming from California, obviously Georgia. So they're flying in from all over the place. This is a big-time deal. And so as we look around this, you'll see part of the football facility behind us, and to our left, this is a magnificent setting. And so obviously all this investment that the Ducks have made into the facilities seem to me are paying off. Well, as we get along, and it was interesting that Robby and I were sort of chatting beforehand, and I said, I think that there might be a big man committing sometime right after the spring game. I don't know who it might be, but considering the number of big men that we're walking around today, I think it's a safe assumption that might happen. So anyway, well, that remains to be seen. So in summary, this is the last week of workouts. They got 2 more sessions next week. The final session will be the spring game that will be played next Saturday at Autzen Stadium. It also is going to be carried at some point on the Pac-12 network, so for those that will not be able to make it out to the game, you'll be able to see it on some replay on Pac-12 network. So until next week, for Erik Skopil and Robby Boydstun, this is Steve Summers for educ.com.